You're lying in bed right now. Maybe it's 9 in the morning, maybe it's noon. Your phone is next to you and you're scrolling through your feed watching other people win. You see someone posting about their new business, their promotion, their side hustle that's actually making money. And there's this voice in your head that says, yeah, I could totally do that. I have better ideas. I have bigger dreams. But you're still lying there. Your legs feel heavy. Your motivation feels like it went somewhere and forgot to come back. And you're thinking, I'll start tomorrow. I'll really go for it tomorrow. I just need rest today. And then guilt hits you immediately because you know you're not actually that tired. So why can't you just get up and do the thing? This is the thing that nobody talks about. This specific flavor of being stuck. Because you're not lazy. A lazy person doesn't care about their dreams. But you're here, right now, thinking about your future. You're imagining what it would feel like to succeed. You just can't seem to move toward it. And that mismatch is driving you absolutely crazy. But here's the strange part. This isn't actually a laziness problem. This is a psychology problem. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark is 28 and he's got like 5 notebooks full of business ideas, solid ideas, the kind of ideas that people would probably pay for if Mark ever actually finished developing them. But Mark's notebook collection keeps growing, and his actual finished projects stay at 0. He's incredibly ambitious when he's thinking about things. He'll spend 3 hours researching the perfect name for a business that doesn't exist yet. He feels motivated and energized and like he's making progress. But when it comes time to actually do the thing, when it's time to make the first ugly version or post something public, he freezes. And then he tells himself he's not ready yet. He needs more information. Mark will tell you he's lazy, but Mark isn't lazy. Mark is afraid. Mark is overthinking. Mark is stuck in the research and dreaming phase because that phase feels safe and productive while also feeling like progress, even though it's not actually getting him anywhere. Most people don't realize this is the actual trap. The trap is that thinking feels like doing when you're ambitious. Your brain gets a dopamine hit from imagining success. It gets a dopamine hit from planning and researching and watching other people teach you how to do things. You feel productive. You feel like you're moving forward, but you're stationary. And the longer you stay in that stationary phase, the more guilty you feel, and the more you start to believe that maybe you really are just lazy. It gets deeper though. Because when you're ambitious, your standards are high. You can see the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and that gap is massive. So when you think about starting, you're not thinking about starting small. You're thinking about starting perfectly. And when you can't immediately live up to that standard that you've set in your head, you decide it's not worth starting at all. I knew a girl named Sarah who wanted to be a writer. She's always wanted to be a writer. She reads constantly. She has thoughts about books and stories that are genuinely brilliant, but she hasn't written anything. Not really, not publicly. And when I asked her why, she said if I'm going to write, I have to write something good. I can't just write anything. It has to matter. It has to be worth people's time. And because she can't guarantee that her first attempt will be good, she doesn't write at all. That's not laziness. That's perfectionism wearing the mask of ambition. That's intelligence and high standards becoming the thing that keeps you stuck instead of the thing that propels you forward. And here's what nobody tells you. When you're smart, when you think a lot, when you can see multiple angles and all the things that could go wrong, it actually becomes harder to take action. You see the problems, you see the risks, you see all the ways that it could fail. A less intelligent person might just go ahead and do the thing without seeing all the potential pitfalls. But you see them in high definition. You're running through scenarios in your head. You're catastrophizing. You're imagining best case and worst case outcomes. And sometimes the worst case outcome feels so real that it paralyzes you. There's something else too. There's this thing about dopamine that really matters. Dopamine isn't actually the reward. Dopamine is the motivation. It's the thing that makes you want to do something. But here's the catch. Dopamine works based on uncertainty. Your brain releases dopamine when there's a possibility of a reward, not when the reward actually happens. So when you're thinking about your big, ambitious dream, your brain is pumping out dopamine because the dream is uncertain and possible. It could happen. Your brain is engaged and excited. But when you actually start the work, when you move from possibility to reality, the novelty wears off a little bit. The uncertainty decreases. You're not imagining anymore, you're actually doing, and the dopamine drops. The activity becomes less stimulating. It becomes repetitive and mundane and harder. So you unconsciously find reasons to go back to the planning phase, because that phase is more dopamine-rich. This is why ambitious people often look lazy. They're not avoiding work. They're unconsciously seeking stimulation. They're chasing the feeling. And the feeling lives in the possibility, not in the execution. And this changes everything about how you understand yourself. Because now when you're lying in bed thinking about your dreams, you can recognize that you're not broken. You're not uniquely lazy. You're actually experiencing something that happens to a lot of ambitious, intelligent, creative people. You're caught in a loop that your own brain set up without asking you permission. But sometimes what looks like laziness is actually burnout trying to signal you. I knew this guy Alex who was the definition of ambitious. He was working 2 jobs, building a side business, going to the gym, taking online courses, reading business books, networking constantly. On paper, Alex looked like he had his stuff together. But what was actually happening underneath was that Alex was running on empty. He was pushing so hard that his nervous system was basically screaming for a break. And then he hit a wall. Suddenly, he couldn't motivate himself to do anything. He'd wake up exhausted even after sleeping. Everything felt pointless. And he interpreted this as laziness. But what was actually happening was his body shutting things down to protect itself. It's a smart system, actually. Your body knows when you're running at unsustainable levels. It cuts off your motivation to force you to rest. So the laziness wasn't a failure of character. It was a feature of design. Here's what I actually want you to know. This thing that you're experiencing, this contradiction that you feel in yourself, it's not a personal failure. It's not a character flaw. It's not you being uniquely broken or uniquely lazy. This is how your particular brain works. You're someone who thinks deeply, who feels things intensely, who can see possibilities and potential everywhere. That's not a weakness. That's actually the thing that makes you capable of doing remarkable things. The problem isn't that you're lazy. The problem is that you're operating with a system that doesn't match how your brain is wired. You're trying to use willpower and motivation to move yourself forward, when what you actually need is structure and small steps and permission to be imperfect. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're ambitious and intelligent and feeling, and you're trying to fit yourself into systems that weren't built for how you're wired. But you can change that. You can be the ambitious person you already are and the consistent person you want to be. So if you're here, if this has felt like I'm talking about you specifically, I want you to know that you're not alone in this. Thousands of people are lying in bed right now thinking about their dreams and feeling guilty about not pursuing them hard enough. You can break the loop. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to be understood. If this resonated with you, if something in this made you feel seen, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. I make videos like this about psychology and human behavior and how to understand yourself better. Because I really believe that understanding comes before change. You can't fix what you don't understand. But once you understand, everything becomes possible. Thank you for listening. You're not lazy. You're just wired differently. And that's actually your superpower.